all of the burning and bombing that was done to us and the houses, nobody never said too much about that, and nothing was done. But let something be burned, by a black man, and then, my God, you see, the flag is drenched with our blood, because you see, so many of our ancestors was killed because we have never accepted slavery. We had to live on it, but we've never wanted it. So we know that this flag is drenched with our blood. So what the young people are saying now, give us a chance to be young men, respected as a man, as we know this country was built on the black backs of black people across this country. And if we don't have it, you ain't gonna have it either, because we gonna tear it up.
So we wanted to welcome you here as we remember both Malcolm X, because his birthday is next Tuesday, but more importantly that we connect with the memory of Malcolm X and the work and legacy of Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. So with that, I'm going to ask, let's hear from Malcolm in his own words. By the way, my name's Baba Akili. I'm with the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. I just assumed that. Well, thank you. Applause. Now, there's one person in here I was expecting applause from, and that's my daughter. I would at least expect applause from her. But thank the rest of y'all. So let's hear from Malcolm in his own words.
And I see some enemies. In fact, I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we had an audience this large and didn't realize that there were some enemies present. This afternoon, we want to talk about the ballot or the bullet. Whether you are a Christian or a Muslim or a nationalist, we all have the same problem. They don't hang you because you're a Baptist, they hang you because you're black. They don't attack me because I'm a Muslim, they attack me because I'm black. They attack all of us for the same reason. All of us catch hell from the same enemy. We're all in the same bag, in the same boat. We suffer political oppression, economic exploitation, and social degradation. All of them from the same enemy. The government has failed us. You can't deny that. Anytime you live in the 20th century, 1964, and you walking around here singing, "We shall overcome," the government has failed. This is part of what's wrong with you. You do too much singing. Today it's time to stop singing and start swinging. You can't sing up on freedom, but you can swing up on some freedom. Cassius Clay can sing, but singing didn't help him to become the heavyweight champion of the world. Swinging helped him become.
And we purposely wanted to focus on that today. This was a speech that Malcolm gave in 1964 in Detroit, Michigan. And his focus was on black self-determination, black power, and black nationalism. And we're gonna hear more of him as he makes reference to it. But we thought that that was the appropriate theme for today. Because if you look at what's happening around the country today, and we're gonna talk about what is happening around the country, and what is happening both psychologically and practically, we thought that the theme of the ballot or the bullet would be the best way to sum up what's going on. And Malcolm, for his time, opened the door, certainly for those of us who consider ourselves nationalists, opened the door so that the nationalist movement could be supported and sustained and advanced. And so we couldn't think of any better way to remember Malcolm and celebrate Malcolm and commemorate Malcolm than to remember this 1964 speech where he talked about it's either going to be the ballot or the bullet. So with that, and we're going to have some other presentations. We're going to also hear some more from Malcolm. But before we're going to get into Barbara Arnwine, who is going to kind of explain to us, we see a lot that's going on, particularly now. But there's a lot going on behind the scenes that even before this was happening. So she's going to explain to us, what's been happening that we haven't seen. And I'm going to ask our steering committee member, Sandy Cook, to come forward. She's going to introduce the video, our colleague and our co-sponsor, SCLC. And Sandy Cook is on the steering committee of the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute. But more importantly, okay, applaud for her, yes. But more importantly, she is a grounded member in this community who has worked in social justice and political activism for at least 12 years that I know of, if not more, including working for social justice programs. So would y'all welcome our sister and our steering committee member, Sandy Cook.
Thank you. Thank you, Baba Keeley. Hey, family. How y'all doing? Y'all gonna have to, pump me up a little bit. I'm a little tired here today, but it's a lot going on. But I'm so excited today to be able to present to you this video. It's a conversation, interview, if you will, with Pastor William D. Smart, who is the president CEO of Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Southern California. He couldn't be with us tonight, but he and Barbara Arnwine, and if you don't know who Barbara Arnwine is, she's a renowned, nationally renowned, I would say internationally renowned, civil rights and voting rights attorney. She's been in this fight for decades, right? Fighting for our rights, civil rights, and for our right to vote. And just when this was interesting because just when we taped this interview, does anybody know what the SAVE Act is? Did you guys know about the SAVE Act? So the SAVE Act was a huge voter suppression bill. I'm just trying to narrow it down. That was going through the Congress. It got through the House of Representatives, and then it went to the Senate, which when it got to the Senate, it stalled. They couldn't get the votes. They even entertained doing the filibuster, blowing up the filibuster because they wanted to get it passed that bad. But they decided not because they had some Republicans that jumped over and said no to it. Right, maybe 3 days, they videotaped this interview 3 days before it came off the table, right? The SAVE Act. But then the day after the SAVE Act, the Louisiana versus Kalis decision came down, right? And that's worse than the SAVE Act. And now they're running through the South, right? Redistricting, which, we redistrict every 10 years, right? We in California, as a response to the administration in Texas, what they were gonna do, we actually, that's how we fought back. We have to fight. We have to fight. We have to stand, and we're gonna fight and do all we can. I think in the end, if we vote, we win. I don't care where we at. No, I don't care what state, whatever. But that being said, I want to thank Barbara in her absence and thank Pastor Smart for this interview. So enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Pastor William D. Smart Jr., President and CEO of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Southern California. I want to thank the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute and its Executive Director, Baba Keeley, for convening this important conversation. Before we begin, let's ground ourselves. As we mark what would have been Malcolm X's 101st birthday, we're reminded of his speech, "The Ballot or the Bullet," that the vote was the most important tool that we could have to shape our future. Just 1 year later, at the Edmund Pettus Bridge in Selma, Alabama, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and others marched in faith, only to be met with violence simply for demanding that right to vote. But because of that sacrifice, this nation passed the Voting Rights Act of 1965. For generations in the Black community, voting has never been just politics. It has been an act of faith. But today, these protections have been weakened, from federal efforts like the SAVE Act to voting ID proposals like right here in California, that questions remain: who gets to participate in our democracy and who gets pushed out. I'm honored to be joined by attorney Barbara R. Arnwine, president and founder of the Transformative Justice Coalition, an international recognized leader in civil and voting rights. Her work has been instrumental in landmark achievements, including the Civil Rights Act of 1991 and the 2006 reauthorization of the Voting Rights Act. She currently serves as co-chair and facilitator of the National Commission for Voter Justice and the Millennial Voting Matters convening and the Voting Rights Alliance.
Well, first of all, again, thank you so much. I want to, I didn't have much of a choice. My mom was in California. I am a native Southern Californian, one of the few real Angelinos, as we say. And my mom was at that time living in San Pedro, and she was pregnant with me. And she was very upset because her first 3 pregnancies, they came to the home and took her miles away to the Black hospital, whereas the white hospital was just blocks away. Mm-hmm. And she was infuriated by it. So when she was pregnant with me, she purposefully waited into the very last second to call for an ambulance. And when the ambulance got there, they saw how far along she was, and she was almost fully dilated. And they took her straight to the White Hospital. When they got to the White Hospital, which was Seaside Hospital, by the way, in Long Beach. And when they got to the hospital, the nurse, the white nurses, because there were no Black nurses, no Black doctors, no Black anything at that hospital. It was all white segregated. And when they came into out to the car and saw that she was Black, they said, no. She's got to go to the Black hospital. And my mom, continued to be in agony and called out and said, you got to do something because I am about to have this baby. And they called the doctor out. And they were trying to, tie a sheet around me to keep my head from crowning. It was just ridiculous, trying to kill me, really. And the doctor came out, took one look, and said, we got to admit her right now. And the nurse said, but doctor, he said, we're going to deliver this baby because the baby's ready. And he went ahead and delivered it. And that's how I integrated Seaside Hospital.
Wow.
That is my life story. My mom bore me as her civil rights protest baby. And that's who I am. And wow. I had no choice in the matter.
So let's ground this in history. After Reconstruction, we saw literacy tests, poll tax, and violence used to block Black voters. Even after 1965, those tactics didn't disappear. They evolved. How Today, I ask you, how is voter suppression showing up today, Dr. Arnwine?
Oh, it's showing up in so many wicked and vicious ways. I mean, most people don't know that, I wrote The Map of Shame in 2011. And I started talking because after the 2010 election, 25 million people who had voted for Barack Obama in 2008 did not show to the midterm elections. 30 state legislatures turned over. And those 30 state legislatures, many of them went to the, quote, GOP. I'm just talking facts, folks.
Okay.
And they decided that they had to engage in voter suppression. And they started passing, tens scores of vicious voter suppression laws. Those laws are with us to this day. And every time we turn around, they just get worse. They just escalate and they get harder. So we see voter purging. Last year, Florida purged 500,000 people. Right now, Louisiana, they have purged 70,000 people. Voter purges taking place all over the country. And the danger of it is that most people have no clue they've been purged. So they're going to show up and they're going to try to vote. And they're going to be told that they cannot vote because they have been taken off the rolls. And those votes will be denied. How many purges do you think, Reverend Smart, there were in 2024?
Probably close to 500,000.
Try 4.4 million.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. People don't understand how viciously decisive. Now, here's an election that is not decided by tens of millions of votes.
Right.
There you got one of the differences, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see, how this happens. And they removed, people who legitimately registered off the voting rolls by saying that, quote, they registered on time, but they didn't have the administrative staff to process their registrations. Millions of people, again, who registered, took the time to register, but were never put on the voting rolls. Did not know until they showed up to vote. These are the kinds of things, moving precincts, all kinds of things, so that people could not find the right place to vote, forced to vote provisionally, and then 3/4 of all African-American provisional votes are counted. So that's just a quick overview of some of the evils.
And so who else is affected by the voting, the purging of the voting?
People who are Native American, huge problems with all kinds of electoral barriers. People who are Latino, huge problems, all kinds of removals. In fact, one thing they're trying to bring back is what was called cross-check. We destroyed cross-check in court, but cross-check was a program that would use your surname, and they would look across the country to see if you were registered in more than one state. And who has the most common surnames? Blacks and Latinos.
Right.
Well, we have for Black folks, we have 21 surnames that covers half of our population. For Latinos, there's a whole lot of surnames that are very common. The same for some Asians. So, what they were doing is that if your name was Jimmy Jackson and James Jackson was registered in another state, or Jimmy I.E. Jackson was registered in another state, they would take all three of you off the rolls.
Wow.
Yes. And that's what they're trying to go to now. That's what this new executive order is trying to do. When they talk about creating this national voter database, that's what they're trying to do, is to do that kind of cross-checking destruction. I think what people don't understand, and this is something we have to fight with the SAVE Act, which we defeated last week. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, 1.2 million people who called in and said vote no. I just want to be very clear that one of the things that people don't understand is that it sounds easy to say, oh, everybody should have voter ID. Sounds very easy to say it, but the reality is, how do you make it happen? You get voter ID by having your birth certificate, right? You get a voter ID by having, your passport, which is based on your birth certificate, so it's the same, source. And what people don't know is that 21 million people, mostly Black, mostly Latino, mostly people of color. There's so much that people can do. Please, everyone, don't ever feel defeated, because when we unite, we win. And
Yes.
what I want everyone to know is that one thing is, I've been seeing a different kind of voters showing up in 2025 and 2026. What's different about that voter than the voter in 2024? They're reading and studying. They're educating themselves.
Wow.
They're seeking real
Yes.
solid information, and they're making sure that they're voting correctly. And that is such a big change. What else is different? They're showing up. We had 19 million people who voted in 2020 who did not vote. 19 million who did not vote in 2024. They sat home, said, "Oh, it can't be that bad. He says he wasn't that bad the first time. I don't think he's gonna do all this stuff." And look what's happening. So that's really important. Educate, really seek voter education, be part of voter education. And we at TJC, Transformative Justice Coalition, will be doing massive voter education. The other thing is, you're not just voting for yourself. I want every single person to say, "I am a voting rights advocate. I am a voting rights champion." Whatever, I am going to make sure that I help others vote. So I want you to do simple things. You don't have to be a voting rights expert. You can just call family and say, "Are you registered to vote?" Let me help you go to vote.org and register.
Yes.
You can
say that again. Say it again.
You can go to vote.org. You can check your voter registration status in less than 2 minutes, and you can register and be out of there in less than 5 minutes. Because there's something called the National Voter Registration Form that's run by the federal government, and you can definitely be registered for federal elections through that process. And in most states, it also registers you for the state elections. So vote.org. You got to do that. Be taking your family. Churches could stop service for 5 to 10 minutes and say, "Everybody, pull out your phones right now and check your voter registration status." Okay, if you're not registered, let's register you now, or have people out in the hallway ready to help at a desk. There's so much we can do, but the bottom line is we got to show up and show out. And on July the 17th through the 19th, we're having John Lewis Good Trouble Lives On, a whole weekend of action. On the 17th, we're going to be what we call teaching and registering. On the 18th, we're going to be rallying and registering. On the 19th, we're going to be preaching and registering. So we teach, reach, and preach. We believe in that, and we want everybody to be part of it. You can go right now to a whole lot of sources. You can go to Good Trouble Lives On, John Lewis Good Trouble Lives On, and sign up. Or you can also go to blackconnectionsdesk.org, which my organization runs. You can go to my organization, tjcoalition.org. Become part of the movement. Don't sit back. Don't let people tell you what you can't do. You are the decider of your faith, and you're the decider of others' faith. Get out there, do what you can, because you can make the difference.
Thank you, Dr. Arwine. We, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference is a coalition partner with the Transformative Justice Coalition, and our Director of Community Outreach and Voting, Sandy Cook, who put together this, and I want to thank Sandy. And she's going to be in touch with you, and we're going to bring in, of course, our partners, the Fannie Lou Hamer and some Institute and others, but we're going to be participating in that John Lewis weekend.
10 days ago. A lot has changed since then. And one of the the points that I think that Malcolm is going to make is how we need to rely on each other. So let's hear from Malcolm.
So this government has failed us. The government itself has failed us. And the white liberals who have been posing as our friends have failed us. And once we see that all these other sources to which we've turned have failed, we stop turning to them and turn to ourselves. We need a self-help program, a do-it-yourself philosophy, a do-it-right-now philosophy. It's already too late philosophy. This is what you and I need to get with. And the only way we're going to solve our problem is with a self-help program. Before we can get a self-help program started, we have to have a self-help philosophy. Black nationalism is a self-help philosophy. What's so good about it, you can stay right in the church where you are and still take black nationalism as your philosophy.
Catching hell early on, we didn't catch hell because we were Christians or Muslims. We caught hell because we was black. And part of what Malcolm in his Ballot or the Bullet talked about is the need for black nationalism, that we have a common condition, common set of circumstances, and a common goal. A few years later, in 1967, at the Black Power Conference, that black nationalism was translated into black power, which is self-respect, self-determination, and self-defense. But it was Malcolm who laid the foundation for that. I'm going to ask Chris Martin, who is a civil rights attorney, to come forward. And one of the things that we wanted to do is take the time so that people really understood this recent Supreme Court decision and why the people, and Melina and I were in Alabama last Tuesday, and we saw white people rushing against common sense to redraw maps. And, and they didn't mind being called racist. As a matter of fact, some were even proud of it. And a lot of what is happening is to try to take us back to something that was. Bobby, I see your hand up. Yes. Good question. Very quickly, that we as a people we have some commonalities. The first commonality is that we come from a specific place, Africa. We didn't just spring up in Mississippi, Alabama. We came through a definite historical process. So we have that. We have a common set of conditions, that is racism and the impact of that oppression. And then we have a common set of goals, that is to fight back against that oppression. So we have these commonalities, a common starting point, common set of conditions, and a common goal. That is how black nationalism wound up being. And let's see, in 1972, there was the Gary Convention, where they talked about nation time. And those were the three themes: this origin of point, this condition, and our goals. And so that's, and for those of us that might not be quite that old, that's how and that helps shape a lot of what we do today. Black Lives Matter is a continuation of that black nationalism that the Panthers and US organization and many other organizations picked up and moved on. So that's kind of our understanding, and that is what grounds us today. So I'm going to turn it over to our attorney, and a couple of things about Chris. Chris is a civil rights attorney. He's also the lead Black Lives Matter's LA legal team, and he is my attorney for a suit that, because we are suing the police because they decided that they was just going to run over us. But you know what? I'm going to diversify. Not just run over us. We were protesting in front of the mayor's house, and this was a Sunday. We were having brunch, and there were kids there, and the police just rolled up on us without regard to the fact that there were children and the rest. And so anyway, Chris is the attorney that's handling that case. Chris, tell us about what the Supreme Court decided and what it means, and then I want to hear from you all. So, would y'all welcome Chris Martin?
Thank you, Baba Akili. Appreciate you. To understand the threat, we really have to understand the tool. Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is not just law, but for over 60 years, it's been our shield against mathematical erasure of Black political power in our country. And while other parts of the Voting Rights Act focus on the right to cast the ballot, Section 2 focuses on the weight of that ballot. It was intended to ban vote dilution. And this is when maps are drawn to ensure that even if every Black person in a community shows up to vote, that they can never actually vote for the person of their choice. Now, historically speaking, since 1982, we haven't had to prove that a political group or a politician was actually being a racist in their heart. We only had to prove that the result of their map was discriminatory. And that results test has been the backbone of Black representation across the country. And so now we get into Louisiana versus Calais and what that represents, right? Because the most recent blow to our civil rights came just weeks ago in late April of 2026, with the Supreme Court's decision in Louisiana v. Calais. And it really is a warning shot to every Black voter in America. So we'll get into what that was, right? What happened in Louisiana versus Calais. Y'all still with me? Somebody say yeah. Yeah. All right. Louisiana, the state of Louisiana, was ordered to create a second majority Black district because its population is 1/3 Black. But the court struck down that map and called it unconstitutional racial gerrymandering. And so the danger there is that since the court ruled that if a state claims that they drew these lines for partisan reasons, i.e. to help protect a specific political party rather than racial ones, then the map is likely going to be legal. And we know that in the South and in our cities, race and party are often intertwined, right? By allowing partisanship to be a legal excuse for breaking up Black voting blocks, the court has essentially given a lot of those southern states particularly a get-out-of-jail-free card. They are effectively saying, rather, that we're not targeting you because you're Black. We're targeting you because you're liberal, knowing full well that in the Black community, the result is more or less likely going to be the same, right? Less political power for us. But beyond the maps, there's an even more technical and dangerous threat, which is the private right of action. Because for decades, if a state tried to dilute our vote, groups like the NAACP or the ACLU or even individual citizens could sue to stop them. But there's a new legal theory that's going about right now that has been upheld by the Eighth Circuit. We're in the Ninth Circuit, but it's been upheld by the Eighth Circuit that claims that private citizens actually don't have the right to sue under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And they argue that only the U.S. Attorney General can bring on those cases. So if that becomes the law of the land beyond the Eighth Circuit, and it gets into the Ninth Circuit where we are, then our ability to defend ourselves is entirely tied to who is in the White House, right? If the Department of Justice decides not to help us, then the courtroom door is going to be locked. And it is an attempt to silence the very organizations that have spent a century fighting for our dignity. So I hope that that gives you a little bit of insight into Louisiana versus Calais, and I'm here for any questions.
One of the things I failed to mention to say about Chris is that he's also a write-in candidate in the 9th District. That's just some general information. So we want to now hear from you. So what you just heard was this act, the overturning of this act. And once again, we were in Alabama. I mean, they were rushing. I was on the phone today with our lead organizer in Birmingham, and he was saying that there was a tornado in Alabama, and they still met to try to rush and redraw these lines. And the one thing that sticks out to me, we were listening, they introduced these amendments. Black people introduced these amendments to try to, make this stop what was happening. And they called for a voice vote. And you couldn't hear the white people. It was like they was mumbling. Like I don't think they were ashamed because they came out, But the fact that they didn't just say no or yes is an indication of what's really going on. So now we want to hear from you. What is your impression? And for some of us, this may be a starting point. For some of the rest of us, this may be an ongoing point. But what is your thinking about what's going on, why it's going on, and what can be done? And once we finish that, we're going to ask Sandy to come back. Well, no, we got Vernice and Arnetta coming, and then we're going to walk through. And I did this earlier today with my daughter. We're going to walk through the ballot process to make sure that people know what they can do and what's on the ballot. So let's hear from you. Some of us are going to say that there's a hole in the wall. And what we need to do is and then some of us are going to say there's another hole in the wall. And we're going to point out what we know. And that's great. But we also at some point got to get to, and how do we plug the hole? So let's hear from you. Okay. One in the back, and then I'm coming to you. So, yes.
All right.
Stand up.
Greetings, everybody.
Say your name.
Khalifa Bay.
And if everybody don't know that, the shame on you.
Well, thank you. My question is this. Out of all of what has been said, does that stop us from voting?
You can always vote.
That's a yes or no.
Yeah.
Does it stop us from voting? Because if you remember, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, up until 64, we couldn't vote anyway. But during that time, how many black towns did we build? What did we accomplish? And just because a man does that and it still doesn't stop us from voting, what's the issue?
So, if it doesn't stop us from voting, what's the issue?
Well, yes, the short answer is yes, you can still vote. It's not going to, generally speaking, stop you from voting, but it will have the power of stopping enough of us from being able to get together to vote to elect the people that we want to elect in there. So, that's the issue. Not necessarily that we can't vote, but that if the lines are divided in such a way that, it's not counting all of the black voters together, then in theory, black voters will never be able to elect the people that they want in office. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got it. Good with the mic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. I hear you. I mean, ultimately, it is going to take, it makes it that much harder to be able to put in the people that we want to put in there, but For sure, I'm a brother who believes that all things are possible. You know, I'm a man of faith at the end of the day, but it's going to take a lot more to be able to put the people that we want to put in there because of what happened with Section 2.
No. Let me take you back for a minute. In Tennessee, there was a district that was 62% black, 61% black, and Democratic. It had consistently, going back to the Ford family, going back to the mid-60s and early 70s, they had been electing a black representative. That district now is split into 3 parts. And so that 63% is now 22%, and 22%, and 22%, and 22%. And so even with, that's not enough numerically to necessarily elect a black person. And the idea that you can certainly vote, but will you have a chance to vote for a person of choice? And right now, the Republican who is running has almost said, I mean, he pretty much said he's not going to represent black people. And that in Alabama, they said that Alabama is a Republican state and should be represented by Republicans. So we can still vote, and we must vote and organize.
Yes.
But what they are trying to do is erase us. And some people are projecting that over a third of the black congressional members could likely lose their seat.
Yes.
I'm going to, where's that brother at? Oh, please, let's see that. There was a brother who had his hand up. No, oh, here he is. Please do. Well, wait, before you do that, this person was in line, so let me come around to you. So respond.
Does it stop us from voting?
No, right. That's the question.
Yes, it can stop us from voting. Right, so I'm talking to people in Alabama and Louisiana, and particularly Louisiana. So one of the things it does, takes your name off the register. Your name is out on the register, you can't vote. So that stops you from voting. So if they put police at the voting center, well, first of all, they're gonna hide the voting center. That's gonna stop you from voting too, right? Because if you can't get there by 8 o'clock or whatever time it closes to vote because they hid it somewhere, that stops you from voting, right? If they put police at the voting center because they got a voter ID in and you don't have the correct ID, and lots of folks do not have the correct ID. We're dealing with that California right now with California Real ID, right? If you don't have the correct ID, no, you can't vote. So yes, it does stop you from voting, right? So there are some people who are gonna fight all the odds. They're gonna find the station, they're gonna walk past the police, they're gonna have the correct ID, but they make it absolutely difficult for all the folks who should be able to vote.
And you heard Barbara Ehrenwein say that over 4 million people have been purged. So you could show up and your name not be on the rolls. So yes, you can vote, but they are doing everything possible short of the poll tax and the grandfather tax to keep you from voting. You had a point.
Yes. Okay. Power to the people.
Power to the people.
My name is Tyson Baker, and I'm with the Black Workers Center. And I just want to ask a question first. Raise your hand if you choose the ballot. Raise your hand if you choose the bullet.
They're both useful too. They are both useful tools.
All right. Can I hold the mic?
No, I got it.
Are you going to do that the whole time?
No.
Okay. So, what I want to say to you is this. We're distracting ourselves with the wrong problems. Kanye said it best. You worry about the wrong things. If we're so distracted trying to enter a system that is systematically designed to exclude us, we're wasting time. Why not focus that attention on building infrastructure, building our own cities, our own governments, our own establishments? Because that's exactly what that is. It's an establishment that we have been excluded from purposefully. And they're just getting more and more creative in telling us that that's not what they're doing. But we know that's what they're doing. So why are you gonna keep trying to climb a tree, and at the top of the tree, you don't even want the fruit?
And we're going to get back, because one of the points that Malcolm made is that we need that kind of self-determination, and we need that kind of do for self. So there is that. However, some of us helped plant that tree. So we got Georgia, I see you, Bobby, who else? All right, I'm coming around to you guys. So Georgia?
You're holding the mic.
Yes.
All right, Georgia Flowers from a bunch of different places.
Well, let's start with UTLA.
UTLA and a bunch of other things. So I hear what the brother's saying, and I do not disagree. But let's remember, we did that. We built our own shit. And what happened? So, exactly. They burned it down. Well, that's just it. So then it's not just building our own, but it's being prepared to protect our own, which means figuring out what needs to happen, what it needs to look like, and I'm gonna say this out loud, arming ourselves and being prepared to defend ourselves and defend our own, because that's where we're headed.
Yes, Bobby, you were next? No, yes, I'm coming on the other side. Bobby, you were next.
Right. I don't know if I'm gonna go off record. I don't know how this is gonna sound, but as black people, can we get back to galvanize as one? You know, I'm just saying, we seem like this is 50 years ago that they went across the bridge and the voting rights, and we still going through the same stuff again.
But is it us or is it them? I mean, because we have come together, we are doing and advancing. So is it us or is it them? Introduce it.
On the progress that we made with that, like that's essentially what's happening right here and right now. Yes, we were.
Well, and I would say that we are stronger now because we've learned. And one of the things that for me is when I was in Alabama 2 weeks ago, what I saw was an assertive, aggressive people that was not willing to take it. And so I don't want us to think that somehow this is happening and we're not doing nothing. So your point is well taken, but we are stronger, we are more educated, and I think we are more together than we were then. Because it only took a few of us then, and it only takes a few of us now.
That's right.
Hi, I'm Ida Ashuri, and I want to say, I think these points are all important. I mean, the Black Panthers, they covered all of these bases. They armed themselves, they provided mutual aid, but they also ran for office too. You can do, one thing doesn't have to trump another. And I'm saying this, as a candidate who's running with the Peace and Freedom Party, the same party that the Black Panthers ran as well. I'm saying this as someone who's been an activist for decades, who's been detained for activism, who's been in positions where I've had my rights taken away abroad. But these are the points where we're supposed to be taking risks in all spaces, whether it's for Palestinian liberation, Black liberation. These are all connected right now. And what we're seeing, what's happening abroad, is affecting us right here as well. And I actually was going to say, this isn't just something that's happening in Alabama or Tennessee. In Los Angeles, we had Nuri Martinez and Gil Cedillo on, basically secretly being recorded saying racist statements against the community while they were gerrymandering the city of Los Angeles. And so this is happening right here outside of the Voter Rights Act, just through infighting, through secretive redistricting within our city. So even we need to vote for better people right here, not just vote, not just worry about the redistricting thing. This is on a multiple layer issue. And I think both parties are actually guilty of this as much as the Republican Party, because this stuff that's happening right here is not getting the same national news. And there's a lot of stuff we don't even know that's happening behind these walls with like paid influencers, with these billionaires running for office, with tech bros running for office. There's a lot of corruption happening. So I believe in having all fields. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, and one of the things that Malcolm talks about in his Ballot of the Bullet is that's where he makes he talks about white liberals and he talks about, both parties and the wolf and the fox. He talks about that in the Ballot of the Bullet. And he explains the need for having, the emphasis is on self-determination, which is why Black power was defined as self-respect, self-determination, and self-defense. And he talks about it in 1964. Chris, you want to respond? And these are, if you look, these are classic maps. And part of what the struggle has been is that we have struggled to elect the people that we want to elect. Now, if they were ineffective or they didn't do everything we expected them to do, that's one thing. But the right to elect them is now being, it's simply being taken away. Now you can, once again, you can say they didn't do enough or they did too much, but the fact is, we had the right to do it. Now that right has been diluted. Yes. And can you you made 2 points. Yes. Results, that is, what has happened, at least over the past 25 years that I've observed, is that if you could prove that the outcome disproportionately impacted Black people and was connected to a series of decisions, that became the standard. But it changed. Now you have to prove personally that it impacted you. Yes. And could you explain, because you made reference to that, and what that has done, it made it much more difficult to prove legally and otherwise discrimination.
Right. Mic check. Okay, still on. So yes, in the past, since like at least 1982, all you had to do was to be able to prove discriminatory impact, right? But now you have to have proof of discriminatory intent. In other words, a smoking gun. And the truth of the matter is, like, when will you ever find a smoking gun where somebody's talking about their intent, unless you got a Kevin De Leon, Nuri Martinez situation where the thing is recorded, right, and their discriminatory intent is plain for everybody to see. Most politicians are smarter than that, right? Most politicians who are going to be drawing these lines are not going to be just giving you proof of their discriminatory intent. And that's what makes it much more difficult to overturn these lines that are going to be biased against Black folk.
And there are 4 conditions that Black people have to deal with: white supremacy, institutional racism, individual bigotry, and mass denial. The last one, because every white person now that will say, I'm not a racist. That's the first words out of their mouth. As a matter of fact, they will say, I'm not a racist. But if you have to prove intent versus the impact, all I have to do is say, I was doing this because they were Republicans, they were Democrats, and we should have a Republican district. Now, if it happens to be majority Black, if it happens to be overwhelmingly Black, well, that's just too bad. You can't elect who you want, because I think that we should be able to elect Republicans because we draw the lines.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, I think, in addition to everything that you're saying, since the court is trying to use math to dilute us, it's incumbent upon us to break their math, right? Like you were saying, sister, with our turnout. Because when we show up in numbers that exceed their projections, we do kind of make it impossible for them to ignore, even in those gerrymandered lines. So I think that it is important that we're going to have to really get together to make sure that we vote at levels that we never have before in order to have some chance of changing things. But again, it's still going to be extremely difficult, right? Especially when you're going to have all those barriers to folks being able to vote.
Yes. And then we're going to hear from Malcolm.
Thank you. I've been trying to think about how we go about solving these problems. And sadly, the same problems that we've been trying to solve my whole life. I'm in my 50s, you know, and so I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, if they are saying that it's based on district lines, I kind of think of it like, because I also write grants, right? And they changed the language, you couldn't say black anymore. So we had to change our language to get funded. Why don't we change our language to get funded? Everybody be a Republican, because it doesn't matter what you claim to be. I mean, I don't know, I think I'm supposed to be a Democrat. I don't vote for none of them fools because none of them represent me. But the point is, we have to be more strategic in our thinking. We're always trying to play by the rules, and nobody's playing by the rules except us. It's like gun control. The only people who ain't gonna have guns are the ones who need them to protect themselves. So every criminal in town gonna have a gun except us. So if we need to claim to be Republican so we can get to the ballot, then say you're Republican. What is the danger? I expect you to know better than me. What would be the danger in being strategic on that level?
That is a point right there.
Except
that's a solution right there.
Except the downside is I got to be something I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I fought. Well, but remember, we said what black power was three things: self-respect, self-determination, and self-defense. I have a right to say who I am. I have a right to speak for myself. That's what self-determination is. And I shouldn't have to hide who I am, hide my history and where I came from. I shouldn't have to cloak that so I can technically get something from you that is rightfully mine. And if you remember, we were lumped into multiculturalism and made invisible. We were part of, and you hear this now, and for those of us who, certainly in the early generations, my first act of self-determination was changing my name. You think I'm not going to be who I am so I can be a Republican just so I can maybe get elected? If I got to do that, if I have to not be a black nationalist and speak like a black nationalist and fight like a black nationalist, I don't know whether I want that. I want to be who I am. I want to fight in the way that I have fought to get here, and I don't want to hide that. I don't want to cover it up. I don't want it in the closet. I don't want to have to pretend I'm something else. And so part of the struggle is, yes, you can say and register as a Republican in those districts. And presumably, you can vote as a Republican. And presumably, you could even get elected, technically. It's not likely, but it's technically. You could. But if these same people are doing all this work to keep us out, why would they let us in? Even if you were a Republican. And so part of as an act of self-determination, let us be who we are. Let us be who we have been. Let us trace our history from Africa to today and not hide it, not taint it or do anything else. Let me do this. We want to hear from Malcolm, because one of the things he talked about is the need for doing for yourself. So let's hear from Malcolm.
You can stay in any kind of civic organization that you belong to and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. You can be an atheist and still take black nationalism as your philosophy. This is a philosophy that eliminates the necessity for division and argument. Because if you're black, you should be thinking black. And if you're black and you're not thinking black at this late date, well, I'm sorry for you.
The precursor for what became a few years later the call for black that Kwame and others developed, and it changed the political landscape. We went from simply asking to be let in on equal basis to saying we want black power. And the continuation of that demand for black power is the building that you're sitting in and all the work that we have done to get this far, and that some people would like to either eliminate and or erase. And so we have had this debate as far as I can remember for the 55 years I've been doing this. And people who've invested in building this society don't simply want to walk away from it, but they also want to make sure that the rights that they are guaranteed, protected, used, and that we develop the communities we live in. With that, I'm going to ask for one more Malcolm statement. Malcolm's birthday is on Tuesday. So the more we hear Malcolm, I think the more it can explain and help us understand where we are today. It's ironic that we're listening to something that happened in 1964, and it is helping us understand where we are today. So some more Malcolm, please.
We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. If you go to jail, so what? If you're black, you were born in jail. If you black, you were born in jail. In the North as well as the South. Stop talking about the South. Long as you're south of the Canadian border, you're South.
And part of what he made reference to was the fight. In 1964, they were still fighting for the Voting Rights Act. It hadn't been passed yet. And so part of what he was making reference to was if it passes, well, it should have passed. And he made the reference, and this has become a very common frame in Butch Ware of the, not Peace and Freedom Party, Green Party makes this point. He literally takes from Malcolm, we put them first, they put us last. And he has made that point in his campaign. Before we move much further, one of the, I beg your pardon? Yes, okay. I thought it was happening I didn't know about. I'm going to ask another member of the steering committee to come forward. She's going to share with us all the people that worked and sponsored this event and made it possible for us to be out. And we want to recognize you, and we're going to put one of you on the spot. So, two of them on the spot, okay. So would you welcome a person who, you see all this stuff? Arnetta is a genius at this shit. She can take a sentence and turn it into a Christmas tree where everybody wants to see it. She has that creative genius. So would you all welcome Arnetta Mack of Mack Enterprise? Come on.
Thank you, Akili. And just give a hand for Akili and all his work in the community and spearheading the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute and so much work for us. He gets up every morning thinking about us. So we appreciate you, Akili. And Malcolm said, if you're black, you ought to be thinking black. So we're thinking black, and we have some unapologetically black organizations that came to support us in this endeavor and in other endeavors as well, and they're doing great work. They are sustainable in our communities, and they too are waking up thinking about us. So I just want to take a moment to thank Black Lives Matter Grassroots Los Angeles. They've been acknowledged for opening up this space for us. So we appreciate that. Melina just walked out, otherwise we would have pulled her up to say a few words. The Black Worker Center, you all are here. We can always count on you. Oh, I think this is going out. Try this one. This better? No, everything's out, Ron. This one's, yeah, okay, all right. Black Worker Center, and you guys are going to be coming up, be on standby. Thank you so much for all that you do. You're going to tell us a little bit more about your initiatives, what you're working on, and what we can do to support your work. Black Women for Wellness is always a big supporter. Jan Robinson Flint, she's going to give us a few words in just a few. I Choose Life and the California Lung Cancer Coalition. Did you like those patties? And the oranges and the water? So that's one of our partners who provided the refreshments for us. And we've got on the spot live. You guys see all this sophisticated technology we got tonight? It's streaming, it's on YouTube now, right, Ross? Okay, so those of you who follow us on social media, we got your email. We'll be sending you links to to where we are, where you can see us and continue to stay connected and follow up with us. So right now I'm going to have the Black Workers Center come up and give us 2 minutes, and following the Black Workers Center, I'm going to ask Jan to come. Give them a hand as they come. And they got some good stuff on their table. Woo! Miss Sherry.
How y'all doing? I'm Sherry Bell. I'm a member leader at the LA Black Workers Center. I'm also on our political education committee. I want to give a shout out to all the wonderful LABWC staff. We got Taz, Brittany, we got Kenneth back there. We got our wonderful member, Sherry and Tyson, and then Bobby is also a staff too. So the LA Black Workers Center, we are a nonprofit right up the street on 54th and Crenshaw. We fight for Black workers to have access and retention and quality jobs. We do that by organizing those directly affected by unemployment, underemployment. We champion policy, and we also try to advocate for direct placement, right, as a solution to the Black jobs crisis. I had the pleasure of working alongside Akili. He was my senior advisor. Taught me a lot about the art and the science and the beauty of organizing and building power, specifically Black power, because that's the only thing that's really gonna change the conditions, because ain't nobody never gave us nothing, and they ain't gonna give us nothing, so we gotta get it and you gotta advocate for it. So that brings us to our charter reform campaign that we have with the city of LA. We have our campaign coordinators. They've been doing a great job in trying to mobilize the city to take action. They dragging their feet. We have a petition back there. We want to encourage you all to scan the QR code and sign it to move these city council people, the mayor, whoever got to be moved to do what they got to do, because we have 6 recommendations with the charter to all about streamlining the hiring process, targeted outreach to underrepresented workers, and getting us in the community into good quality jobs, because we know that's the way we change our lives and our families. So I don't really want to take up too much time. Vote June 2nd. Mail-in ballots are out. The voting registration, what is it, May 19th or something like that? So, make sure to get your vote in. There's no excuse. Bring your sample ballot in, because it's like 60 names for governor. So, have a little patience there. Yes on ER, okay? And thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Jan, you want to come on up? And June 2nd is the last day to vote. Don't wait for June 2nd. That's the last day.
Please mail it before June 2nd, because there's been some conversation about whether they will count your ballot in terms of will it get postmarked on June 2nd and what comes in way after the date. Hi, I'm Jan Robinson Flint. So Black Women for Wellness has 2 organizations. We actually are 2. Black Women for Wellness and Black Women for Wellness Action Project. So Black Women for Wellness is a C3 organization, which means we can take you to the water, but we can't tell you to drink it, right? So we can tell you all about voting, registering to vote, and that type of thing. But the C4 can suggest who you should vote for and what measures you should vote for. So tomorrow night, Friday, May 15th, in Crenshaw Mall, Museum of African American Art, we're having a voter guide and a ballot party. Everybody here got their ballots? Yeah? So you can bring your ballots, and we will have some suggestions and some dialogue over how many people are on the ballot and who's been working in the interest of the Black community and who has not. So that's tomorrow evening, Crenshaw Mall, Museum of African American Art, 6 o'clock, okay? And it's our ballot party. We actually have a bunch of events coming up in the next 2 weeks to talk about voting and who to vote for and what to vote for. So you can follow us on BWW Action Project to get that information. Our C3 is bwwla.org. Okay, yes, sir. So on social media, is BWW Action Project or BWW, the number 4, WLA. Okay, so those are our social media handles. So for the C3, BW4WLA, and then for the C4, BWW Action Project. Okay, so that's a little bit. Now, what happened that we started an action project or a C4 is that we, instead of getting mad or being sad, when Hillary Clinton lost that election and the first time this individual was president, we decided enough of this nonpartisan stuff, we're gonna have to do something. So that's when our C4 started, right then. So that's the history of the C4. It's not as deep as the history of the C3. So the C4 started in 2017, but Black Women for Wellness has been around since 1997. And we do, our office is right over here on 11th Ave. We do all kind of programs. Yes, ma'am. And that's why I said the post office is, it's just not as reliable as it used to be. That's all I can say. Yeah, so yes, if you're planning on mailing your ballot, you gotta have a very solid plan, and you can't wait to the weekend of, because you absolutely want it in there, not just postmarked, in there by June 2nd. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There you go. And that's what I'm saying. Don't wait if you're planning on mailing your ballot, right? I'm mailing my ballot. I have to mail mine before that day because I'll be out of town. But if you're mailing it, give it that week. I will say the Secretary of State, Shirley Weber, is a good friend of Baba Achilles over there. So we know that she's going to do the right thing as much as she can. Those Secretary of States have lots of influence on how your ballot is counted and when your ballot is counted. And the fact that we have someone who has influence and impact with a Secretary of State is a good thing. That's where your voting comes in important, right?
Yes, and where's your office again?
Our office, the address is 4340 11th Avenue. Y'all know where the Pizza Hut is? It's right across the street. It's immediately across the street from the Pizza Hut.
Ah, okay. Y'all were in a movie, okay.
Wait, so when I walked out the office today, they were filming, and I was like, hey. And they're like, Queen, come on. I was like, nah, I don't need to be in y'all movie.
And we have counted on Black Women for Wellness almost every event that we've done, and they've always come through, along with the Black Worker Center, Now, we would never push you off the stage, but we would move to the next item. And then we're going to have Sandy come up, and we're going to have some discussion about what's on the ballot. Another member of our steering committee and a person that kind of makes things happen, somebody that I began working with in the Pan-African Film Festival, who is not only clear about what needs to be done, because a lot of people are clear about what needs to be done, but she also figures out how to get it done, which is something even more critical and important. So would you all welcome, also from the steering committee, our sister Vernine Mincy. And Vernine worked at the post office. And she was like, the post office.
And I'm telling you not to mail it. I'm telling you to take it to the box. Because anytime, you have to keep in mind, there's been a lot of things written, and that new change that they made in the book says they're to process mail the same day they receive it, especially first-class mail. They've come up with this rule that they don't have to be responsible, nor do they have to be accountable. And you cannot trust an organization that has decided to do either. So drop your stuff off. Yes, postage is free. But at the same token, do not wait late to vote. Do it now. Take that time and go through that ballot, and we're going to give you some tools for you to be able to actually do that. I dropped mine off at the little box, and I've already received notification that it has been accepted. So I work for the post office, and I know better than what I'm hearing. We should actually, as a community, be outraged, literally, because you're paying for something that somebody's not being accountable for. So I'm gonna put that in the sand and let that be, but vote early. So the reason why I'm up here, I don't wanna go lock the doors, but I do wanna tell you the great work. Have you all enjoyed what you have heard today? Okay. If you want to know a little bit more about the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute, that is our website, and you'll see all of the fabulous programs that we have done within the community. Basically, when we see something that needs to be addressed, whether it's the water crisis that was in Mississippi or Clinton, or we see the issue concerning the reparations, Black history, we have spoke on those issues. And even today, even voter engagement in education. But it does take your support for us to continue to do what it is that we do. So if you see that QR code there, we would like for you to support our organization. Whether it's $5 or $5,000, we'll take it. And stuff, but we look forward to this year of having some more fantastic programming ahead that we want you to be a part of and participate. So please go to our website and sign up so that we can send you out information, but also support our organization so we can continue to have fabulous events. And some of you see the shirt that Baba Keeley has. This shirt here is available. And why don't you come up and model it? Come on. So if you can see, these are the powerful words that Fannie Lou Hamer has stated, okay? So you can see that we have to build the power of our own power. And that's a very powerful statement, as well as we have pins at the table that do have our organization information on there. So that's another way of supporting us. But that's a powerful message. Turn around the back. Oh, it doesn't say it on this one. The other one says vote and organize, for you to remember, okay? Because this time we do need to take accountability. We have to stop thinking that Calvary is in somebody else's hands. We are the Calvary, okay? So if you have somebody that's daddling, stop daddling. Get them registered to vote, and if they need to be taken to the polls, take them to the polls. They need to be sat for a party to fill out that ballot, help them fill out that ballot, but get that ballot in. Because that's the power that we show when we show up the way we need to show up. So that's all I'm gonna say. So help support our organization, and we thank you.
Thank you, Vernine. And I'm gonna ask Sandy to come back because we wanna make sure that you at least know what's going on. One of the things we're probably going to wind up doing in October is calling you back together again, because October 8th is Fannie Lou Hamer's birthday, and it'll be toward the general election. And I cannot believe this, even though I don't know why I can't. There's actually going to be an initiative on the ballot that calls for voter ID, as if that's a real problem out here, as if that's a real issue. So the fact that it's happening here in California, so expect to hear from us around October 8th as we celebrate Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer's birthday, and as we ask the Secretary of State to join us and explain to us what's happening. So I'm going to turn it back over to Cook again.
No, thank you. And we have the best Secretary of State in the world. She be fighting to protect our rights to vote. So really excited personally, I'm going to be voting for her again. So I hope you'll join me. And so we're passing out Kaishi is handing you out a QR code. I want you to get your phone out right now. Don't fold it up. Get your phone out so I can walk through this toolkit with you. Just so it'll give you an idea. So created a little toolkit for you. So when you're out and about and you're helping, friends, family, neighbors, congregations, you have all the information that you need, right? And I'm just going to scroll down really quickly, and I can see folks are on it because it's a Google form. But on the top, we have those important dates. So the 18th, and that's this coming Monday, is actually the last day to register to vote. The 18th, Monday. However, we have conditional same-day registration. So you can walk somebody into a vote center, get a voter registration form, fill it out, and they'll give you a provisional ballot to vote. That is a thing. So when you're out, even though we have a last day registration day, to have your names like on the rolls, right? And be able to get a ballot still, right? You can still same day registration. So did everyone that's registered, did you receive your ballot? Okay, are you tracking your ballot? So you've already sent yours back. So on here is also a ballot track link. I suggest that you sign up for it. It's easy. They tell you when it was mailed. They tell you when they received it. And they tell you when it's been counted. So that gives you a little assurance that they have your ballot. It's not lost somewhere in the ether. You should track it, yes. Yes, make sure that ballot got counted. In the end, that's what we're really looking for, right? But we also want to know that it's been sent. If you are registered to vote and you did not receive a ballot, you need to register to vote. Because that means you are now inactive for some reason. Maybe they returned some mail, whatever the reason is. And you can also check your status, though, before you do that. All of those links are here. Everything is here that you need to do, to check. If you scroll down, you see it all. Make a plan. Help somebody else, because I know I'm singing to the choir in here. But these will really help when you're out and about and you don't have, a whole lot of stuff. You can help them register on the spot, because you can register online. They check against your driver's record, right? They call it motor voter, I think, motor voter plan. They check your signature against, and that's how you can register to vote online. If you don't have a license or ID, then they will mail you back a form to complete. But most people have an ID if they're 18 or a driver's license. So that's how you can register online. So nobody's just going in, voting, registering. None of that is happening. And we know all that's a lie anyway. All the information that I'm just talking about, I do the, down at the bottom, I put some outreach and voter guides down there for folks that are still making decisions so that you can hear from the actual candidates. I know the governor's race is a big one, and folks are holding out, you know what I mean? Because we don't know what we might hear in the next day or two. It's hard, right? I know who I'm gonna vote for, but but it's a challenge. But you have some links here that you can look at, look at the candidates, seeing all the different races, including the propositions. So it depends on where you live, if some of these propositions are on the ballot. LA City proper has 4, I think, propositions on the ballot: ER, CB, TC, and TT. So we have 4 in LA City. But every depending on where you live, you may not have. Our ballots aren't the same, right? We have different candidates, different people running. So it's important to. Yeah. Okay, that's true, and it's on here. So here in California, we voted. So if you're not, you didn't kill somebody, if you're out, so you're not on, it's not about probation or any of that anymore. That's been for I don't know how many years now. We passed that. It's been a while. It's been a while, right, Bobby? So we need to tell folks that, because when I used to be out there back in the day, and before we even passed this, it was hard because, folks would be like, when you say, are you registered? They would kind of shy away. But then when we passed this, I would just pull somebody over and say, hey, if you were in, you could, So it's important because this is our family and these are our people. So, I tell everybody your first call list is the one that's in your phone. Make sure that your family, friends, neighbors, I call around the country. You know what I mean? All my family and friends, they're all over the place. I make sure they're ready. We should do that because you all are the leaders in here. Any questions? Yeah. Yeah. Pardon? And I put that in there for you so you can make sure, check, but yes. Most people are eligible. They just don't know. So if you have a question, yeah. Yes, you might have to re-register. You might have to, but you can register. We should be checking, right? You can always check to see if you're eligible. You should not just sign your own self out of it, the process, right? Because we've done a lot of work. Oh, thank you. We've done a lot of work in California to make it more just for everybody to be. I feel like people that are in really should be able to. I'm that person. You're still, you're still a citizen. So I don't think you should lose your right to vote. But anyway, that's just me. Any questions? And you see down at the bottom, the voter guides, we got the best ones out there for you to take a look at. 411 is really a good vote, 411. You can actually pull up your ballot or help someone. You can see what's on your ballot. You put your address in there, and it'll tell you all the things that are on your ballot. And you can actually read from the candidate statements, right? And things like that. That sometimes is helpful. Cal Matters is also a good one. That's a good one for if you might be still trying to consider the governor, who you want to vote for governor, because it's a little quiz on there that's really cool to see who you align with your own values, see who you're aligning with, right? And then LA Times, they're good with the candidate statements and the propositions, giving a pro and con on that, so you can see what those about. Slide go up a little bit, please. So I think I have one more. And Ballotpedia, the same. And then Alias, it's also a good one to show you candidate statements, a little bit about the candidates, and especially like the judges too, right? We have like how many, 10, 15 judicial candidates on there. So there's some information on there to help you kind of check them out a little bit. It's kind of hard because, they have to come out. Some of them are now campaigning. But some of them have to come out with their party. They don't want to do that because it's it's not a party seat, right? So they don't want to say what their party is, but a lot of them are because they want to get to know people and want people to know them, which I think is good. We should know who these people are. They're standing in judgment of us. Oh, say that again. LA Public Press for judges for overall. Okay, LA Public Press. Thank you. Who is? Knock LA is a good one for the judges, right? Yeah. Okay. I thought they were new. I thought Knock LA was a journalist too. It's different? Okay. Did you guys catch those if you want to jot those down? Okay. But those are good to kind of go through. LA Public Press. and then knock LA. Knock LA. I have that one. I got that one a little late, not like knock, and it's spelled like that. And I got that late. Bernine has sent me that, but I got it too late to put it on your list. But I think the goal is, to look around, check around, and you can meet me in the corner if you want my recommendations. I do a voter guide myself. So yes. Tom Steyer will be at Orr's. What time? Can they just walk up? I'm sorry, Sherry. Sorry about that. But if you're just walking by getting you a juice or something, he's going to be over there talking to the Black community. Use your preacher voice.
But my question was more so engaging the youth, right? A lot of the folks in this room are older, have a lot more experience, but one of the primary issues that happens when it comes to voting, and especially having results that candidates that actually support our communities, the issue is that a lot of younger voters or people who are able to vote don't vote at all. It's a middle ground, but there's still like a level of how do we engage the youth, and especially for this new generation, how do we engage the youth in different ways that actually relates to them and things that matter to them, regardless of what we're pushing for, what we've been pushing for the past 5, 6, 7 decades, right? Because those issues, even if they're still prevalent today, this next generation can't necessarily connect to those same things in the same way that a lot of folks in this room already have, right? So with these new generation, new issues, social media exploding over the past 20 years, how are we re-engaging this next generation of how political action is going to look like in the next 10, 20 years?
Have you thought about that? Because you're that generation.
I am that generation. That's something I think about. That's something I think about all the time. And a lot of it comes down to mental health. A lot of it comes down to, I wouldn't say necessarily divestment, but a disillusion with how the economy works. You see a lot of influencers are becoming prominent, celebrities are becoming prominent. A lot of our culture is centered around celebrities, and our president is basically a celebrity, right? Political candidates are more appreciated for their spectacle rather than their actual competence in leading, right? So understanding that, it's like, that's a question I'm asking myself and I'm trying to explore myself. How do we engage like this very pessimistic generation in a new way that actually matters to them? That makes sense because, well, the organizing that we've done for the past half a century isn't going to connect with this new generation. So
first of all, you should be leading that. Okay, just give it up for the brother. You should be leading that because it's peer-to-peer. And what we can do as aunties and uncles and, we can support what you're doing, but you can lead that. I mean, and I agree with you 100%. I talk to my people, I try to stay cool and hip, whatever, right? They'll listen to me because they're scared of me. But I agree with you 100%. And once we get through this primary, we have to go all the way to November. So let's exchange so you can give me some thoughts and ideas of what you want to do. Maybe we can get a think tank together and talk about, and so you all can get together. We can support that. That's what we're here for, right? You tell us. We're gonna support you. Okay? Let's exchange. Is that good, y'all?
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone, again. My name is Tyson Baker with Black Worker Center, and I love the question that he asked as far as how do we engage the youth of a digital generation that we are facing right now many different problems that we didn't go through these things. We didn't have to deal with these problems, and we are saying that they're soft and we don't want to look down on them sometimes, but they have real problems. They have real depression, they have real anxiety and things that they're dealing with, and they have their own issues, just like we did when we were their age. So being able to identify those things as far as mental health and the importance of it, wellness as a practice, and being able to tie those things together to show how political hygiene is good wellness. So what I mean by political hygiene is exactly what you showed, is a packet. It's showing them what are the options, what is available, and how do I fall in this process. And I think that if we're able to explain that in a way that they can understand, use as many buzzwords, hashtags, and forwards and ats and mentions that you can to beef up that post will become viral, and it only has to be 1,000 people for it to be considered viral. And once we take a post that we are able to frame it in a way that they can consume it and see themselves in the solution, as well as relieve the pressure that sometimes unks and aunties put on them as the problem, because we were the problem at one point. We were out there with Afro picks and everything like that, out there wild in the streets with bell bottoms and long beards and all of that. And our grandmothers and grandfathers looking at us like, they wild, they don't know what they're talking about. So I loved what you said about being able to empower someone like Kenneth to lead that, because as the baton is passed, you got to write something on it. Because if we don't tell them what to do, if we don't show them what to do, and if we don't share with them our mistakes, our flaws, and our scars, we can't expect them to just know it. It's up to us in order to instill inside of them the victories that we've had as well as the failures. We can't just show up all clean like we got it together. You know, church folk be acting like that. But we need to come in there, flaws and all, like Kaishi said, and explain to them, look, this knot right here is because I protested the wrong day on a Sunday. You see what I'm saying? So we can't be so haughty that we don't explain to them that we've made mistakes. We don't want you to make the same mistakes. And I think that that's how you engage the youth.
Thank you. No, that's good. And I like, we're gonna do this now. It's already in the atmosphere. So it's on. Okay. All right. We're gonna get tired, Auntie. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I missing people? Oh, okay. I'm getting a wrap, but let's get it quick.
Okay, I will be quick. I work with young people, and it's okay. I work with young people, and TK through 8th grade. And I also organize in the community. I'm from Long Beach. I organize in the community. Strong Beach all day. One of the things that I recognize, because when I came out of college, I was trying to be an activist in Long Beach. And one of the things that I noticed that's still happening today is that our organizations are dying out for lack of young people. Not because they're not energetic or don't want to get involved, but because when they get involved, the elders want their energy and they want their footwork, but they don't want to give them any power. They don't want to give them any say-so. They don't want to give them any responsibility. They don't want to pass the mic. And so then they get burnt out and be like, I ain't with that, you know? Exactly. So instead of telling them what to do, sometimes we got to listen to them. Absolutely. And let them do stuff. Sometimes we got to let them fail and make mistakes so that they can learn instead of being told. Because none of us want to be told what to do. They don't either.
Yeah, thank you. So when I call y'all for the listening session that our baby's gonna do over here, y'all gonna show up, right? We wrapping. It's 8. I gotta send y'all home. Do we have time for just one more?
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do is because we have the leader of the Youth Foundation, the Youth Vanguard here, who Tandiwe Abdullah, who was we are in the house where students' deserves are. We are in the house where every week you can find students here. We are in the house where students have fought for the black, you started the end in random searches. Your generation did that, but the BSAP, the Black Student Achievement Plan. We are in the house where students fought to redirect $25 million away from the police and to students and education. And so let's not talk as if black students aren't organizing and doing stuff. As a matter of fact, on Thursday of next week, you can go to the school board and you'll hear black students speaking up. So I don't want us to think that and one of the things that we have to learn is, certain people in my generation, is when not to speak. So I'm going to turn this over to Tandiwe Abdullah, and she is going to invite you to what's happening here. The other thing, I'm with Black Lives Matters, and all of our activities are closed with ASADA, and it's always led by the youngest black person in the room. And so what we are learning is when to speak and when not to speak. And here's a time when it's not. So invite us to what's happening. Tell us about what's going on. And then we have one other quick announcement. Then we're going to end with Ms. Fannie Lou Hamer. So go ahead.
Well, hello, y'all. I'm Tandiwe. It's such a pleasure to see this event happening in our space. It's really the people's space, so it's y'all's space too. And it was so great as the co-founder of the Youth Vanguard and as an original member of Students Deserve to hear y'all's perspectives on how to get youth into organizing. That's like my greatest nerdy passion for my whole life. And one of the things I appreciate most about people like Baba Keeley and spaces and orgs like this and like you all is that we do have that space for young people, young black people to own our power. And we are in this tradition of passing on knowledge as well. So I think it's a really beautiful tradition that we've all signed up to be a part of and that we're trying our best to carry out and follow in the footsteps of. That being said, we are having our general organizing meeting for Black Lives Matter Los Angeles this Sunday. Woo. We're gonna talk about what are our plans ahead of this election coming up. How do we make sure that this city and that this county passes a people's budget, right? Putting black workers' needs first, black people's needs first, making sure that our money isn't being, our money, our literal taxes aren't being spent on systems of black death and destruction, systems that are meant to keep us oppressed and in a cycle of poverty, in a cycle of being slaughtered by our own institutions. So that's what we're about. That's what we're gonna be strategizing on this Sunday. We're gonna have a hot meal as always. We're gonna have a bag of organic groceries to take home once you leave. But please come, please bring a friend. Yes. Thank you for asking. It's every second Sunday of the month usually. This Sunday is the third one because we wanted y'all to have Mother's Day with your mamas. But we're also gonna celebrate Mother's Day this Sunday as well since we're gonna be all together. But it's every second Sunday of the month here at the Center for Black Power at 7:30 p.m. 7. You have to say the earlier time or people will come even later. All right.
Thank you, Tandiwe. Very quickly, we have another announcement. Our friend Tory Reese, who most of you may know of because he performs, he's been with Men to Boys and a number of other things, is celebrating Malcolm's birthday, and he has done it, I think, as long as any single person I know of, him and his group. They're going to be getting together, and he's going to be performing, and this is May 22nd at the Barbara Morris Theater right around the corner. So we want you to come out and support him. I know I will be there, and many of us from the Fannie Lou Hamer Institute will be there because we want to support him and we want to support black folks. Lastly, if you didn't get a patty, get one now. As a matter of fact, you can get 3 or 4 if you'd like, because we don't necessarily want to leave that there. And if I didn't say this to you earlier, the bathroom is on the outside. The bathrooms are being repaired now. So we are going to, our objective was to end at 8 o'clock. We're a little over, so we're going to ask. By the way, I want to give another shout out to Ross and his team. They did an excellent job putting all these slides together, having us hear Malcolm. So I want to give another shout out. We are always end with Miss Hamer in her own voice. The reason there is a Fannie Lou Hamer Institute, because we want to remember, support, and advance the legacy of Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. I often ask myself, could I have done what she did? And gone through what she did. So let's hear Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. Thank you all so much. You should mark your calendar. We're going to be doing something on October 8th because it's her birthday. And so you should mark your calendar. We're going to be reaching out to you. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for joining us. Remember, this is the year of the ballot or the bullet. So let's hear from Miss Fannie Lou Hamer.
We've been down so long, we ain't got no other way to go but up.
An icon of civil rights history tells her own story in words and song.
We are sick and tired of being sick and tired. I feel better than I felt in a long time. Because all of these people here, we got to do something. And we've been down so long, we ain't got no other way to go but up. It was 40 million of my people destroyed as they were bringing my ancestors here on the slave ships of Africa. I can forgive easily for a lot of things. But when white America taken my name, that was a crime. My name is Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. I'm Mrs. Fannie Lou Hamer. One day you'll be proud when you can say, Senator Fannie Lou Hamer, because I'm on my way there. Freedom is not something that's put in your lap. You got to stand up. I've been beaten in jail till my body was hard as metal. But I'm not stopping. The flag is drenched with our blood. Because you see, we have never accepted slavery. They know what they've done to us. All across this country, they know what they've done to us. I question America. Is this America, the land of the free and the home of the brave?